Hello everybody, this is the long-awaited NetLabs. Now, if you look up here, you'll see that's the URL. Well, I'm going to give you a document that will give you all the necessary information about how to log in and some reminders what to do after you've gotten started. It's going to have your username and your password and some other things. Now, I want to bring your attention really quick to the fact that Lake Tahoe, this is the first NetLabs class at Lake Tahoe. And so now they are part of NetLabs, which is sponsored by the Chancellor's Office for the whole state. NetLabs is now an available entity from the state. So basically, it's really exciting to see us getting such good real estate here. That's awesome. So when you log in, this is what you're going to see. And you're going to have to type in your username, and it's going to be specified in your documentation. Your password will need to be put in also, which will be in your documentation. And it's very important to remember that the password is case sensitive. Okay. Now it brings you to where you're going to change your password. So I'm going to put a different password in here, and I'm going to make it, oh, I know what I'm going to make it. You can make it anything you want. I have a kind of long one because I want to remember it, but take your time and make one that you're going to remember, because if you really lose it, you can contact me and I can reset it, but it's much better if you just write it down, keep track of it, because nobody's going to steal yours, but it's just better that way. So okay, so now you don't have to put an email address in, and I didn't put your email addresses in, so that was up to you. But we can just skip this part. So we can just say submit, and you don't have to put your address in. The next thing that's important is we have to set your date and time to match where we are currently, because your computer will not work functionally if you tell it that it's on Eastern time. So that's 3 hours away. And we are looking for 8 hours away in the Pacific zone. So we have to look for 8. Now you're going to see that this is worldwide, so we have to go down to 8 hours Greenwich Mean Time. I've stood on that line. My mom lived in England, so we need to find Pacific. Let's see. Here we go. There's 8, 6, 7, 8. There it is, Pacific time. Click that. On your display for your date, how do you want it to look? That's totally up to you. There's a whole bunch of different options. Do I want it to be just the day, the month, the year this way? Do I want a dash in between? Do I want slashes? Whatever you like, you can choose. So, and you can also do it as day. You can do it as month and day, and things like that. So there's plenty of ways to show your date. I think I'll just do this one. And 24 hours or 12 hours. Now, I'm an aviator, so I like to fly, and I like 24-hour time, and military likes 24-hour time. But you can also do it as a typical 12-hour time, which is easy to interpret. Then you pick your first day of the week, and traditionally Sunday is the easiest one because it'll show your option for pods much easier. So I would stay with Sunday. And then you hit submit. And it tells you can change them later. Voila, you're here. Now what do you do? Okay, student here. You can see where this is where you're going to log out. This is what view you'll have, completed labs and configured files. But the real place where you want to be is right here, schedule. You click and schedule lab for myself. And I get this long list, And as I assign you, your first one's going to be Lab 1, examining PC hardware. So the time limit is an hour, but I usually give you more time than that. So if you want more time, I'm going to make that accessible to you, okay? And for your action is you schedule the lab. Okay. When you go into schedule, and you could have previewed it too, but you're going to come into schedule. This is the pod scheduler. There's more than 4 of these. If you scroll over at the bottom, let me get down to the bottom. That is the bottom. Okay. Oh, there's only 4. Oh, whoa. All right. Well, the good thing is this gives me a chance to show you something else too. All right. Here's Preview Lab. If you want to see what you're going to do in this lab, you can hit that and it will show you the PDF of the instructions. And this is exactly what you're going to follow to do this. Now, normally they're accessible, and I'll show you a few things here, is you're going to have a topology, and you should read the lab as you go through. This is a topology, and it shows that you have a Windows 8 R2, a Windows 7 number 1, just this is defining the workstations and the servers. Here's a Windows XP, and here's a Windows 7 number 2. And if you look at this topology, here's the IP address for this this particular topology, and this one would be 192.168.1.0.100. 1.100, and the same would be here. So you're seeing 110, 11, and 12, and that's because that's a server. Yeah, okay. Not too important yet. At the beginning of each lab, it'll give you the IP address that you're going to have to log in with. It'll give you the password if needed, the account, and then the password. So for us, we're going to use, just in this lab, we're only going to use Windows 7 number 1, and we will use these credentials. You will be reminded of them, but it's not a bad idea to write them down right next to you, because then when they come up, you're going to read through this and it'll tell you what to do, and you're going to end up being in train, and you're going to have to put the password in for train. That's a 1, and that's a $sign. So you have to, again, very sensitive to case sensitivity. And you just read about the BIOS and the CMOS, and you're going to keep going down, and you follow the instructions. If there are questions somewhere in the lab, then this is a BIOS. So if you've never seen one before, you're going to end up using arrows and things to get around. Lots of comments through here, and if you absolutely just mess it up, try again. Get out of it, start again. But I think the one thing I will caution you is don't say what you end up doing in the BIOS, because you will screw up your machine. And that's the only thing you're going to do ever in these things. But one of my students already did it this year, so I'm like, oh, I kept telling him, do not, do not, do not, and he still insisted. And he messed up his, so I gave him mine to play with, and he messed up mine. So we're not going to do that. So you read through, and as you're going along, sometimes there's questions. So I think there's like 2 questions in this particular one, and if it asks you specifically, maybe it'll ask you what's on these or stuff like that. You answer those questions by mapping the questions. So I'm just looking. Oh, here we go. Here's an area where there's questions. So you could say here in section 1, number 13, 14, and 13 and 14. I found 2 questions. So I'm going to fill those 2 in, and when I tell you how to actually submit these, that will be something you're going to want to remember. So you're going to use those 2. And if you find any other questions in here, you're going to map those questions to this. Now let's dismiss this and get back to how do you actually get into the lab. So that's if you just want to see the content ahead of time, and you may want to download the PDF on a separate. Really nice if you have 2 screens, but you can also split the screen. So okay. So we're going to schedule ourselves for lab 1. We're going to schedule a lab. And right now, if I wanted to make my schedule to start now, I would want to get really close to, did I? Yeah, I did. I scrolled through here. Wherever the line is, There we go. You want to get as close to the line as possible, and you can get on any of the pods across, but you want to get as close to the line as possible if you want to get in now. By doing that, you'll see that it's letting me get in at 11:22, which is what time it is right now where I am. And that's great because I don't have to wait. Now, if I want more time, that's only 27 minutes, I'm just going to say my end time will be 2:30. That gives me almost 3 hours to work on this if I wanted to. Okay? When you get done, you'll close your pod and that will go away. So I've now done that and I'm going to submit. And I have a reservation. You can set up your reservation ahead of time. If you know that you want to work at 9 p.m. on Wednesdays and Thursdays, go in and schedule a pod and it will be available for you. Because they can fill up at times. Not sure how many, since we only have 4 pods, I think we're going to be okay. But should be okay. So I'm going to say, okay, this is what I'm going to see. Now it's time to get in. I've got my Joe student is going to be in for, once I start, it'll go 3 hours. And I can enter the lab by clicking here. I could also make a new lab reservation there also. So I could do several in a row. If you want to do it later, all you do, you don't get near the red line. You just go to 9 p.m. on a certain day. It takes a little bit of time to initially have your pod prepared for you, so give it a little time. Okay, and here is what you're going to come to start your lab. You'll notice some things. 1, right here is your time remaining. If you get to the end, it will actually ask you, do you want to extend your time? And you can. So that's a good thing. Let's quickly look. Here's the topology I just spoke of because that's what's going to be showing in your content. So that's the topology if you want to get back to that. The content is right here. That's where it's right inside of the lab. So you didn't have to download it per se. The status, you don't have to worry about that. And the server. But here's Windows 7.1, 7.2, and XP, the 3 that we saw. And here's the server. Those are the 4 that we saw in the topology. So we're going to be working with, based on the instructions, Windows 7.1. So we click this, and in these virtual boxes, the only thing you have to do that you can't type is Control-Alt-Delete. So you will come to the menu here and do it this way. And you can also power on and power off here. So I go to Control-Alt-Delete. It got sent, as you can see. And now it comes to train. So if I type in my password, train, and remember it was 1NG $, and I hit enter, it's going to open up. There we go. Now we're ready to start the lab. And as we go through, we can just, probably the easiest way till you figure out how you want to do it, if you're going to do it on 2 or how you want to do it. But if I need the instructions, I go over here. I look down here, I'm like, wow, I just logged in. So after you've read this, please read them as you go along. But I've read it, I just logged in with the password, and it's going to tell me what to do. So I just logged in, and it came to here, and we're going to go into the lab settings and work on the CMOS configurations, which means we're going to go to a different kind of thing. This is what we got, and we're going to continue from there. The instructions are very good, so take your time. If you really get worried, email me and I'll help you out. Okay? I think I'm going to conclude this. Don't want it to be that long. Good luck, and I hope you enjoy the experience.